Hi, in this video, I want to talk about embracing maturity and growth. Now, growth can mean a lot of things outside of just the actual physical definition of just like growing taller, gaining weight, things like that. But in terms of just like mental development, growth can come from just learning new information. It can come from learning from experience. It can come from developing stronger, more capable behaviors that help you navigate the world more efficiently. There's a lot that can be kind of, summed up when it comes to growth. There are a lot of different elements. But overall, like growth and maturity are pretty much tied. And I think, going through different stages of my own life, experience definitely plays a factor in terms of like how you move and interact with other people. Like I just sense like if I'm going like to like a social venue, for instance, how I'm interacting with people is so much different than when it was 10 years ago. I had a lot more youthful energy back then, and I would say things just like kind of like chuckling and joking. Whereas now I can still joke and, have fun, but I have this more grounded demeanor when I'm interacting with people. And that's just from the experience. Like it's not this new novel thing, and I'm not kind of agitated below the surface. So, growth and emotional maturity, these things are something that you need to embrace. Again, when it comes to growing pains, it can be very difficult at times, like the whole midlife crisis thing. But if you embrace it, if you realize that we're only here for a set period of time and that there are different stages to life, you can actually make more out of it than just whatever you would have gained from it by itself. Because when you're more mature, people tend to trust you more. People tend to go to you for advice more. People feel more comfortable around you. And that's just because you're more of like a rock amidst the storm. Whereas somebody else who's not as mature, people can't really trust them because they might do something one day and something different the next. They're kind of on like this emotional seesaw. And so when you embrace maturity and growth, you're basically telling the universe, you're telling those that you're around that I care about my development as a human being. I am not going to stay the same. Stagnation is synonymous with death. And truthfully, like you don't actually stagnate. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. So if you think like, oh, I'm just maintaining, nothing's happening, I'm not, doing these positive habits to help my life, you're actually going in the negative direction. And the negative direction is pretty powerful. Again, I talked about in previous videos this idea of upward and downward spirals. If you don't get in front of the proper habits, the negative habits will just take form. And it's really hard to kind of overcome that if you take a really long time, like using like the gym, for example. If you go without the gym for a really long time and then you try to start, it'll be way more difficult than if you just consistently were doing it. And that kind of goes without saying, but when you're thinking about growth, like you want to take those small incremental steps every single day, and they'll compound over the long term. Again, if you consume self-development information, none of this is new. But generally, like this notion of embracing, coming to terms with, acceptance, these are powerful mental, I would say, demeanors, approaches, ways of thinking that'll help you, when it comes to moving through these different phases of life. Because a lot of times people are I know I was when I was growing up and we had to like move and we moved around a lot as a family. I took that really hard. Like I wanted the solidarity and the consistency of the same friend groups. But after a while, I got really used to it, and I actually began to look forward to moving and meeting new people. It became more fun for me. But at first, it was very shocking, very jarring. And so that can come from just any phase of your life. But when you become a more mature person, when you actually learn from your experiences rather than just kind of writing them off and look at every experience as a learning opportunity, you grow so much more as a human being. And like I said, other people can basically feel that off of you. They can feel that off of your resonance. You're moving much more grounded. You're moving much more stable. And that's because you see the world as not necessarily a video game, but more as kind of like this. I guess you could look at it like a video game or like an experiment or something where you're just like you're developing skills and you're growing day by day. A lot of people like to just kind of wing it and waste their time, and everybody has their own opportunity to make those choices. Whatever people want to do, they can do it. But overall, if you embrace maturity and growth, you just become a lot stronger as an individual, especially internally. You might not get these big muscles and in that type of fashion, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say is that internally, you're somebody that can't be shaken, can't be moved, because you've seen it, you've been there, you've done that, and you're on to the next.